All right, what's up? Welcome to Speak the Truth Live. This is the first week. We're trying some new things. Welcome back. This is a show where we speak truth to power. We hold nothing back. We're here with your host. I'm CJ, representing Black men in America. We also have the legend, the myth, the man himself, the OG, Harold Bell, here holding it down, bringing his legendary sports clout knowledge to the situation, and our excellent panel of guests bringing all types of excellent input to these great issues that we have lined up. So today, without further ado, we're going to get started with COVID-19. It's killed over 700,000 people already, and we're going to look to see how it's affecting the Black community and especially athletes and influencers in our community. So look into the NBA. Even though the NBA has a 95% vax rate they announced, some star players are still holding out against the vaccine, and not just the NBA and the NFL. So we're going to start with Bradley Beal, hometown hero, and his take on the vaccine.
Understand, I guess, both sides of the coin, the perspective, because of this question and of this debate. Obviously, it's not an easy situation for you because you're a role model in the spotlight. I guess, do you understand, I guess, the whole thing, the whole picture?
Yeah, I have family. My mom and dad are vaccinated. My older brothers are vaccinated. My sister-in-law is vaccinated. I know people that I have people that are very close to me that are vaccinated, just as well as I have people that are close to me and related to me that are not. So it's a fine line. It's a personal choice between everybody. 100%. Like, I understand both sides of it. Like, I understand that there is a percentage of people who can get very sick. I didn't get sick. I didn't get sick at all. I lost my smell, but that was it for me. Everybody's gonna react different. Everybody's gonna take it differently. I mean, some people have bad reactions to the vaccine. Nobody likes to talk about that. And what happens if one of our players gets the vaccine and they can't play after it, or they have complications after that? Because there are cases like that. But I feel like we don't talk about those as heavily because they're so minute, maybe. But I mean, they are existent. So it's like I said before, we can talk all day about it. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. Everybody's going to have their own timing and comfort of when they feel like they want to meet those criteria or needs, or feel like they want to go through with getting the vaccine.
Because of this.
All right. So so he's got an interesting take. A lot of players are holding that same opinion. I want to see what do you guys think? Mr. Bell, what do you think?
It blows me away, man. We got these educated people, and we're looking at our country where we lost 700,000 people to this COVID, man. And I could understand it if you don't want to take it and you could be somewhere by yourself. You understand? You're all for you're not coming in contact with nobody else. Okay, you don't want to take it, that's fine. But if you're out there and you got teammates, you got other relatives that may be affected by the thing that is killing people, I don't understand the logic, man. I really don't. And we go back, we got a lot of history. We go all the way back, man, when those folks took advantage of Black men with those shots back in the day. And of course, we lost a lot of Black folks, man. But today it's a different story, man. Like I said, you cannot only think about yourself if you're on a team. You can't think about yourself if you got a family. You got to think about others. So that's my take on it, man. I just don't understand, man. They didn't want seat belts, right? And everybody's wearing seat belts. We've been taking flu shots for years. You understand? But now all of a sudden, we done lost 700,000 people. And no, I'm not taking it, man. I don't want that going in my body. That's my take.
Yeah, I just want to push back on some specific points, because you hear some of these arguments a lot where he mentioned that you don't hear about the negative side effects of the vaccine. They tell you about the negative possible side effects of the vaccine when you get the vaccine. And they're out there. It's readily available. A quick Google search, and you can see the negative possible side effects of the vaccine. As he said, is because it's minute in relation to the 700,000 people dead from COVID. That is more dangerous than the side effects of the vaccine. So that's why people don't talk about it as much. So I feel like that's a weak argument. And I do like, on the flip side, I do agree with the bodily freedom and autonomy. And like, if you don't want to put it in your body, that's fine. I don't think you should be forced to, but at the same time, there are going to be consequences, like you said, in a team environment, in a sports environment. You're going to be in stadiums full of people. There's going to be a certain level of liability that you're going to have to take and for your job. And it's about the sacrifice of freedom versus, you know, safety for society. And that's a constant question that we go through. But I'd like to hear some other takes on it.
I tell you, I'm looking at Deontay. Your facial expressions, man. Introduce yourself. Come on, man. Your face is saying a lot. Introduce yourself and bring it. Let's see, what do you got?
All right, I am Deontay Orange. I am CEO. Well, as CJ mentioned, I'm CEO of Five Squad Podcast Network. And we have various shows like sports, anime, relationships, etc. And I kept making facial expressions because the video was kind of cringeworthy. Because if you ever had a conversation with somebody who they look like they don't know what they're talking about, you see it on their face. And he looks like he didn't know what he was talking about. And also, if you gonna literally say, my wife caught COVID, my daughter caught COVID, I caught COVID, why wouldn't you take the vaccination? Of course, there's outrage and stuff about the side effects or the fatalities that have come out of people taking vaccinations. But like CJ said, that's an antiquated number anyway. If you compare that number versus the billions of people or the millions of people or hundreds of millions of people in the US, that number is like minute, like he said. You know, so that's why I was like, you talk about you had it and still don't want to take the vaccine. You had COVID and you still don't, you lost your sense of smell and you still don't want to take the vaccine. You lost one of your senses and you still don't want to take the vaccine. And he just had a brand new child. So you have what, 2 or 3 kids and you don't want to take vaccine and put them at risk because you want to be selfish. And it's just, I didn't understand it. I didn't like that video.
Mhm.
I don't even like the Wizards no more. I'm sorry. That was the bad video. I don't know. It rubbed me, like when you have your answer, when you have the answer in the video, like, come on, man. What do you?
Okay. Trey, what do you say, Trey?
Look, man, now I'm gonna start this off by saying I've been vaccinated. I got both shots, Pfizer. You know what I'm saying? I vaxxed that thing up, like Juvenile said. Look, man, I'm not mad at nobody for not wanting to take it. Look, like just like y'all said, man, like I was very hesitant to take it at first, like, you know, with vaccinations, because I don't even take flu shots. I don't even take regular medicine. Like I've never been sick in my life before. I've never had the flu. Like there's jokes my pops will always make about like, oh yeah, in school, you never made the football team. You never had no honor roll, great accomplishments. But as far as showing up, you pulled up every day. So, you know, like that's how I looked at it. But as far as vaccinations goes, it's just like, I'm just not mad at the NBA for putting the mandate on them, because if I had a company and people are dying from something and I have a way that's going to at least lower the chances of people dying from it, so I'm not liable, because at the end of the day, it's about money. It's not even about people dying. It's about the NBA or whatever team or company or anything else being liable for your death or your sickness or anything like that. So I look at it from a business standpoint. And if I have you know, another opportunity to lower the risk of me being liable for somebody else being sick or somebody else getting injured or something like that on the job, if you don't take it, then you ain't got to work here. You know what I'm saying? Bradley Bill, you've made a lot of money in your life. If you want to go retire, you probably should have signed that extension 2 years ago if you was going to do this. But like, you know, if you want to take that money and go retire and move to, you know, Antigua or something like that, then by all means go do you. But if you want to play in the NBA, then you got to get the vaccine. And, you know, it's going to be mandated for all of the teams eventually. So like, you know.
Okay, we lost.
Yeah, okay, there you go. He's back.
Oh yeah, but anyway, I'll just finish my last point. It's like, look, either take the shot or you're not taking no more shots in the NBA. That it really comes down to that.
Or you can be like one of my clients. One of my clients sent a memo out to all their employees and on Friday, and said, if you are not vaccinated, fully vaccinated by 22 November, you will be terminated. That was the memo. No ifs, ands, buts about it. We want all of our people vaccinated, and it's your choice. And so people got a choice, you know, and the company's like, you know what, 22 November, we'll make the choice for you. You're out.
That don't sound like it's fair. It's fair. It's fair. I mean,
Their company.
Man,
not
I don't know.
dying.
Here for some other people, but it might be a hot take, but I think that might go a little too far. I think there should be an option of testing. I think testing should be readily available. It's annoying, but if you want to go that far, if you're that, objected to get the vaccine, go ahead and get that annoying invasive test every day or every 3 days or every
They
week.
gonna hate that.
If that's going to be an option, if you're that, if you're that determined to not get the shot, but at the same time, you can't just not comply. Like you said, I agree halfway. I think there should be mandates, and mandates are fine, but like you got like a religious exemption, or if you got some really, really ideological, you just have to be willing to jump through those extra hoops. And like it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you because, like I said, we've done vaccines before. It's not a new thing. People have been to go to school. We're not running around worried about polio right now. Vaccines work. But
Lawrence,
any other takes?
Come on in.
Is that me?
Yes, Lucas.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lawrence, can we hear you?
He's on mute.
You're on mute.
If not,
Let me get
Yeah,
on
there he
mute.
is. There he is.
Okay. I've been listening and I've been watching television, and I know the reservation that people have because of the historical perspective as relates to how white folks treat black folks. And what I'm referring to, and Harold referred to it, which is the Tuskegee experiment. However, we have come full circle. And in this society, if you have an impact on others, you should consider how you are going to behave and keep yourself safe, as well as keeping others around you safe. Now, when you want to go to Jamaica or Spain or Turkey or Istanbul or Morocco, you have to take shots. I wonder if the same people that go on these trips and take advantage of that experience, but have to take shots, I wonder if they are a large number in this group of people that are complaining, and you can't leave the politics out of it. Is it really valid that a former vice president had the influence on umpteen millions of people enough to not get shots? The answer to that question is yes. There's a political decision and there's a personal decision. And that decision has to rest with each individual. But if you want to be out in society, I think a large part of society should have the benefit of knowing that you have taken your shot and you're not jeopardizing them, their family, and their coworkers. So although I was apprehensive about taking the shot, I'm going to take my third shot as soon as I can.
Mhm. Okay, let's go to Jacques. Then I'm gonna come back down to John Hollins and Michael. Bring Michael in. Everybody get in on this. Jacques, come on, Jacques.
All right. Well, I'm going to come with a militant view. I think if you live in America and you pay taxes and you benefit from others paying taxes in this country and you get all the benefits of living in America, then I don't care what your religion beliefs are. I don't care what your health beliefs are. You should get the shot. or you and your family and those around you should then be quarantined. We ought to have take Mississippi, because that's the poorest, cheapest, ugliest state in the union, and put them all down in Mississippi somewhere, maybe West Virginia, down there with Joe Manchin, whatever his name is. But that's how I feel. So I don't think that there should be any religious waivers for this. Certainly people in high profile positions should be mandated to do it. If not, to get the shots, that is, and if not, then simply put, you take away the money. And I think it's a shame that these well-established, high-profile folks, white and black, are denying themselves and their people around them from getting shots and being safe. But yet they have all this money that they make from the public. And so then to turn around and basically disrespect the people, the very people who are feeding you, to me, is just a shame. So that's my take.
Okay, John Hollins.
How you guys doing? I'll turn my camera on. I think we touched on three things while I was listening. One was political. The other one was health. And the other one was financial. I'll start with the financial because, as one young gentleman said, when you deal with America, 99% of everything is about money. And when you speak from a business standpoint, the liability aspect, first of all, if they don't mandate it for all the employees, they lose their insurance because the insurance is not going to insure them as a company if they have employees running around without the shot, because it's a proven fact that those who are not vaccinated have a high propensity of getting the disease. Now, as far as protecting those around you, people with the vaccine can as well give others COVID. So it more protects you than anything else. There are people who've had the vaccination that are asymptomatic, and they don't know they have it because they've been protected. They don't feel anything, and they carry it. What they want to do is make sure that lives are protected. And from a money standpoint, back to that issue, financially, if you work for my company and I haven't made everybody adhere to this vaccination, then I'm liable as an employer. If you get sick on the job, you could get others sick on the job. That means I'm going to lose more people. That means I'm going to lose money. I'm going to have to shut down my arenas. I'm going to have to change that. So that's one thing. We talked about another thing was the political aspect. From a political standpoint, if you just look at it from a governmental standpoint, I think people ought to have the freedom of choice. That choice is, if I don't want to get vaccinated, you don't have to. But as others said, but you don't own the company. If you want to work at a place that is requiring a vaccination, then you have to get that vaccination. If you don't want to work there, then you have that same right to say, I don't want to work anymore, and go without it. I don't know if it's necessarily selfish, because getting into the part that baffles me is it's not a common sense argument. Because if it was a common sense argument, everybody on this call would already know that everybody would be vaccinated. As one gentleman said, he doesn't get the flu shot. I never get the flu shot, but I don't know a lot of people that's dying from the flu. Now, maybe if everybody was dying or a high propensity of people were dying from it, I'd get the flu shot. I have pre-morbidities, so I'm a prime candidate to make sure I take every shot that they come out with. I'm always skeptical about the government and every shot they want to take. They want to give you a shot. A lot of times I know that.
Okay.
Can you guys
Can you
hear me, Harold?
Yeah, go ahead. We fade out.
Harold,
Go
can
ahead.
you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm going in and out. I'm going to lose the camera to save juice. So, you know, it boils down to, it's no common sense. Some people just have something that's stuck in their head. They feel a certain way. And for whatever their reasons are, they should be able to exercise those reasons. But back to you and your company, back to you and your home, back to you and your businesses, you have a right to either require a vaccination before you enter, require a test before you enter. I mean, as we talked about traveling, you can't go places without getting the shot. So this is a personal decision. And I don't think the argument should be on whether they should be able to or not. It should be that if it's a mandate and you don't meet the mandate, then, you know, you don't work there. And maybe you'll start your own league or something of that sort. But that's just, to me, it just no longer arguing common sense, because it's not common sense. You get the shot to live for you personally. You don't get the shot necessarily protecting others. You can stay away from others. But for you personally, it is the safest thing based on modern science and modern technology and all the information that we have. And as one gentleman said, they get the polio shot for kids. They get all those shots. A lot of people wait and they go to private school and they wait because they don't want to get it at the times that the government says is the time, but they still have to eventually get it. So I think it's just a matter of people having to do what they think is best as a company and people having to do what they think is best as an individual. And in the end, I think it'll work itself out. That's my thought.
Okay. Okay, Attorney Michael Jackson down in Alabama, where you guys are having big problems with COVID down there. Michael, what are you guys doing to overcome folks not wanting to take the COVID-19 shot? What is happening in Alabama?
Well, first of all, this is very personal to me. My son, my 6-year-old, just got over the virus. He had it for 2 weeks. And let me tell you, it's a scary thing. The first day, he couldn't even hardly move when it hit him. He was so weak, he couldn't hardly open his eyes, wanted to sleep a lot. So, of course, he kept getting better and better. We gave him a lot of juice, orange juice and that type of thing. And he's fine now, but it's a scary thing. And the school got shut down for about a week. And several of his classmates caught the virus. So these athletes that don't want to take the shot, what teammate wants to be around them? You know, because they don't have masks on in the locker room. They don't have masks on out on the field. So they don't realize that their teammate really don't want them on the team, but they might not say it to them. But they really don't. I think that's one of the main reasons Cam Newton is not playing. He won't get vaccinated. Some of these folks that are getting cut, it's because the team really, they can't openly say that's why they cut these folks. But these teammates are going to the coaches and saying, look, and the management saying, look, I really don't want this person in the locker room. That person putting my family in jeopardy. A lot of money is out there, as John and others said, there are billions of dollars with these sports athletes. And if you got somebody in the locker room, and Newton has had the virus once or twice, if you have somebody in the locker room and they putting you in jeopardy and you have a $50 million contract, do you really want that person on your team? Because this virus stuff is serious. We've had multiple folks to die, not just in Alabama, but in Selma, more locally. All kinds of folks that I know. So I mandated it because in my office, because I was trying to wait to see whether everybody get the vaccination shot, but I saw that wasn't gonna happen. So I mandated. The one person I didn't mandate it for because she was breastfeeding at the time, and she said she wasn't comfortable, so I said, okay. But when the data came out that you should still get the shot with the breastfeeding, I was about to tell her that, and lo and behold, boom, she caught the virus.
Wow.
And, yeah, her and her baby. And she's okay now. But I felt guilty because I said, man, I should have went to her right then when that data came out and made it mandatory then with her too. And man, she caught it like 2 days before, after the chance I had to tell her that you need to get the vaccination shot. And so, and she was real sick. So this stuff is serious. When you think about how you could have lost your child or something, that's the scary thing. And I'm just telling you, most of these athletes don't want these unvaccinated athletes around them. That's why that Brooklyn. That's gonna be a problem when Irving can't play half the season. That's gonna be a problem with his teammates. And right, he's gonna end up being traded because they ain't gonna want him around.
Wow. And Michael, your 6-year-old who we hanging on you every show, man. And man, that is really close, man, because he has such energy, man. And come down with that COVID, man, I know it really must have put you in a bad place.
Oh yeah, he outside playing right now because he's real now. But when it first hit him, literally it's touch and go on whether you wondering whether your child gonna live or not. And so, and this is the other thing, and I don't know if anybody brought this up. Yeah, you have the choice sometimes if you're not working somewhere where they mandated, but you still, when you get sick, you taking up somebody's hospital bed, or you taking up somebody's ventilator that could have been avoided. These same folks, they're not vaccinated, they get sick, and then most of them start telling folks, hey, I should have listened. I should have gotten vaccinated, but they're in the hospital. And as you know, in Alabama, we at a negative amount of beds here. We don't have beds for all the folk that had the virus. We made national news on that, on how bad it is. And so it got to the point where literally you almost, one guy, they did a big story on this. They checked with like 40 hospitals before he had a problem with his heart or something. And finally, he was able to find a hospital in Mississippi or something, but he ended up dying because all the Alabama hospitals were taken up with the virus.
Wow.
Hey, Harold, let me say something about that because I serve on the largest safety net hospital in the Southeast, Grady Memorial Hospital. I serve on the board, and we are turning patients away right now because all of our beds are taken up. Never has that ever happened to the hospital before in the history of the hospital. But as Mike said, you got people coming in there for procedures of heart and other issues, but there's nowhere for them to lay. All the beds are taken up.
Okay. Chris, where you want to go from here?
Yeah, like I said, we can wrap up the COVID, but like I think that was an excellent point to wrap up with. I think in terms of just the social contract and social responsibility, that is the main issue with being unvaccinated. It is, as was mentioned before, it's not so much about spreading it, because you can spread it if you're vaccinated. It's if you get sick, you're going to take up someone's ventilator, as we just stated, someone's hospital bed that was probably pretty avoided if you took the vaccine. And as it's still by the numbers a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So again, I think getting vaccinated is the safest route for anybody. But from here, we can move on to Stephen A. Smith, if you got the clip, and we can talk about.
Since we're right here and we got these young people here, I'm going to take advantage of this. Why? Because I see, Chris, this was one of the things that you want to talk about. Why are young people losing hope in the system? And they are losing hope. It's all around us, man. They do not trust our leadership, and they have good cause not to trust that leadership. Let's go to Trey first. Trey, come on in with that, Trey. Why does young people do not trust the system?
Now, when you say the system, are we still talking about like COVID? Like
we talking about the politicians. We talking about the people that make the decisions to do whether to go yes or no. We talking about those folks.
Because we don't have leaders anymore. Like our leaders are like social media is like the people who are hot on social media. Those are the leaders of the Black community, especially like the 30 and under crowd. We don't have anybody that is, cause it's everything's about clout. Like everything is about who's the most popular person. Like even the people that we follow, like it's not about what you like, it's who you like. If the like is saying this, that, and the third, then we're gonna ride with that. Power to the people. But if a person you doesn't like says something, oh, we're going against that. So like it's really there's no like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no gatekeepers of truth anymore. Right. So it's up for interpretation at this point. It's like everything is, especially with, I've never been a big, person to believe in like conspiracy theories and things like that. But like, it's cool to believe in the conspiracy theories. Like even, I hate to bring this back to the vaccinations, but this applies to this too. It's kind of like, well, if you're shamed upon if you got the vax, and you're also shamed upon if you don't have the vaccine. So like, there's no barrier of truth. There's no gatekeeper of truth for any of the systems. So, and you know, and times are different now. Times are changing faster than ever before. Like every 2 to 3 years, like everything is completely different. It feels like every presidential cycle, it feels like the world changes, which is, I guess, what it's supposed to be like. But it impacts us a little bit more because everything is live. Everything is live on your phone. Everything's live on Instagram. Like everything's live on Facebook. Like we can see things as they happen before we get explanations for it. So everybody can just come up with their own story. And if enough people think the story sounds cool enough, it's dope. And I'll finish it with, Charlemagne has one of the best quotes of this all time. He says, nobody believes the truth when the lie is more entertaining. And whatever's more entertaining is what's going to get, is what we ride with. And, so we don't really have leaders to believe in. We don't have leaders that we can trust. And we don't have leaders that do the work. We got leaders like Steven Jackson. Like we got leaders like freaking Charlemagne the God. I mean, like,
right. That's right. Dr. Owens, come on in, Doc. Hey, Doc.
I think, everything Trey said was right. But I think that, one, when I read the question, I was like, okay, why don't we have faith in the system? Why would we? Because what we have been shown is, what we've seen is Donald Trump become president, and we all know we only got to touch on that. We've seen that. We've seen police brutality. We've seen police brutality be filmed. We've seen evidence. We've seen them get off. And I also want to take it to the schooling because I remember when I was in school, we had government class, and thank God for my government teacher that actually made government interesting and taught it to me in a way where I could attach myself to it, because in schools, what they do is they just put their warm-up, classwork, homework on the board, and you just do all that stuff, and we never talk to you for the whole day. And how are we supposed to learn anything about politics or government if you don't teach it to us? So that's just what I think.
Mm-hmm. Chris, come on in, Chris. You the next young man.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the points that they made were extremely spot on. I think this internet era is very different. We can fact check our politicians in real time. It's a lot harder for them to lie to us about their record, about their things. We can look it up. We could just look it up, your record. It's out there now. It's public record. Everyone's got a smartphone. Like I said, it's the dissemination of information is different. And it ties into all the topics we had today. Like I said, we'll touch into the media later, but the way people are consuming media is different. And the ratings are reflecting that. The YouTube and podcasts, the fact that Joe Rogan is doing more ratings than most of these big market TV shows is a big deal. Just people talking with a microphone, setting up at home. They're making bigger numbers than some of these networks, and they're panicking. They don't understand why. It's because people are consuming information different. This is a different era. As was stated before, why don't we have faith in the system? Why would we have faith in the system? All we've seen is the system lie and fail to us. So it's like, it's really hard, even for the anti-vax people, even though I don't agree with them, I don't fault their skepticism at the system, at the country that has lied to us. We've mentioned the Tuskegee experiments. We've been lied into wars. Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. We've heard all types of stuff from the government that we know is BS now. So I understand the skepticism. I think you should look at the science and make your own decision. But yeah, it goes back to that. So again, that void of leadership is big. We don't have that one person to be like, okay, this is who we look to. And I don't want to go back to a debate that we've had earlier, but I think Barack Obama was a big part of that. We thought that he was going to be that leader. A lot of us voted for him the first time when we mobilized, and a lot of people didn't get what they expected. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that again, but I think there's a factor in that.
Hey, look here, that's right on time, Cliff. Hey, look here, Gary, go to that Omar video because it's right on time what Chris is talking. Can you find the Omar video?
Okay, I have to look for it while you all are doing it because that's the one we played last week, right?
No, this is one I just sent you with Omar chastising one of these senators about the corruption in government.
Okay, I'll look for it because I didn't see that one. I'll look for it.
Let's keep moving. Let's go up to Jacques. Jacques, you got something you want to say about that? Why young people don't trust what's going on with adult leadership in this country?
Well, I think the young talent panel guest that we have today where matter of fact in their statements. Also think too that because of the hypocrisy and information is actually being disseminated, spread around so differently. So I really believe that they're going to have a hard time for the next 20, 30 years until we come out of this, until hopefully a new leader comes about to help change the way that we think here in America. The other thing that I'd like to see, but that is of course far-fetched, that instead of having a one-person presidency, that you have a parliament or a governing body of, I don't know, 15, 20 people, because the tasks one person's shoulders. And it's going to continue to breed corruption, misinformation, and misguiding to our people, young and old. And often, sometimes, you want to excuse the people who are uneducated, and that goes for white and blacks, but that's still wrong. We'll oftentimes say, well, they didn't have the best education, but we all know right from wrong. I don't care what kind of education you had. I don't care if your mama was on drugs and your daddy was an alcoholic. You still know right from wrong. So I think that sometimes too, we ourselves have to look in the mirror and say, okay, we can do something to change things and to change our life, and don't always blame it on the government. Don't always blame it on a lack of education, because I think somewhere along the line, no matter what family structure you came from, you learn right from wrong. So that's my take.
I want to.
I got your video there, Mr. B.
Okay, you got it. Okay, this.
Do you need to set it up, or should we just let it roll?
No, just listen to her. She sets it up beautifully.
All right, here we go.
All for being here, and thank you for your testimonies. Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question.
On February,
that was not a question. That was I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether you
okay, Gary, cut off there. We can cut it off there. But that is why I love that lady. because she puts them on the spot, man. You know, and that's why they don't like her, because we got somebody that say, hey, you're lying straight out. And they cannot deal with that type of leadership. And we need more of that type of leadership that we don't have. John Hollins, come on in on that, John. Then we get to Michael and then back to Luke. Come on, John.
Well, you know, when you talk about, you know, the young men earlier talked about our leaders of today. And when you think about Muhammad Ali and calling out the Vietnam War early on, sacrificing everything that he had for what he believed in, not only his religion, but what he believed in being right. And those are the type of people that we want as leaders. But the way our system is structured is based on lobbyists, it's based on campaign contributors, and we talk about Obama. And at some point, you're in their pocket. And because you're in their pocket, you have so many things that you have to adhere to. And then you have another side that's trying to block that as well. So it takes, I think, forums like this, continued push, and maybe the young people that are on this call one day will be the leaders of tomorrow, because they're being enlightened, educated, and they have their own personal knowledge of what is right and how to move forward. As a country, I learned with my kids when it comes to people, culture is not color. And if your kids grow up in a private school environment, they're around 90% white people who have different thought processes, then you find that they start adhering to some of these thought processes if you're not on top of what is right and what is wrong for all people. And you can put a spin on almost anything. And if you put a spin on it and it looks real, as they say, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, you think it's a duck, but it just might be a bird. And it's important that we continue to have the Harold Bells of the world, to have forums that speak the truth, that talk about the truth, and that have people that on this call that continue to push forward that narrative so that we can understand that everything that comes out of somebody's mouth is not always the truth. And sometimes it's their truth. So that's a question in itself. Your truth and the truth sometimes are two different things. So it's important that we fact check as we talk about, that we continue to push the narrative of doing what is right, that we look at all Americans, even the Black Americans and white Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans as being Americans, and that we push forward this narrative of us being one nation under God. Because when we push too hard for just Black agendas, then we drown other people out, because that is what the Trump administration or the Trump parties, they're trying to drown everybody out. They don't care. And they got enough people behind them to say, you know what? We're in a better place when we keep Black people in their place. And the unfortunate part is you have Black people that are prospering from that narrative. And so they're getting behind it because somebody has shown them what they believe to be true. I just say, keep doing what you're doing, Harold. Keep putting things like this out there so that our young people will realize that they have control of our future. You know, we're on the back end and trying to make sure that we maintain the truth that we know so they can continue on and continue to promote what is real.
Okay, before we bring Michael in, I want to, kind of give a little background on to Trey and Dr. Owens. We got we got people on here, man, like John Hollins, who's a county executive at CBS 46 in Atlanta. He's the former president of the 100 Men in DeKalb County. He was picked as the Community Person of the Year. He manages an RBI team associated with the Atlanta Braves. So we got some folks on here, man, that are out there and have been doing things. Like up in the corner there, my teammate from high school, Lawrence Lucas, a fabulous guy who's been in 40 years, man, fighting for the Black farmer. He has been the voice of the Black farmer and how the agriculture department has treated the Black farmer like they're still on a plantation. This brother has been out there in the fight. Then we got down here Michael Jackson, of course, district attorney in Selma, Alabama, the first Black president of the District Attorneys Association, a guy that's been in the war zones. So you got people like this, man, and got guys like you, man, that really I believe you are the future leaders, man, because we can't keep believing all this hype because we don't have no NBCs, we don't have no CNNs, we don't have no ABCs, you name the networks. They control our image. They control the narrative, man. They suppress our history. And nobody says anything, especially those who have jumped over the top, and they satisfied. So it's got to be young people like yourself. Come on in, Michael.
This is what I believe. I think with the internet, like CJ said, you can fact check, and young folks and others see all the hypocrisy that you see. And with these leaders, it's all about money. We keep bringing up this money thing, but that's the truth. You see these preachers with 3 or 4 airplanes, and that but Jesus would have a tough time right now if he was right now preaching. He would have a tough time because right is wrong, lying is the truth. If you're famous, you're supposed to be somebody or important. Just because you got some fame, Shaq talked about this. But Jesus literally talking about helping the poor and doing on the others as you want to be done too. Man, he'd have a hard time right now if he was walking around preaching on what's going on with the way people, we all on attack, we riding on the Capitol, everybody's angry, all the killings. You talk about even mention gun control, you're gonna get ran out of the country. So I'm just telling you, Jesus would literally have a hard time right now in this day and age with all the stuff going on. If you remember Dr. King and Malcolm X and all them, they were basically broke. They weren't for money. Matter of fact, their families were concerned about if something happened to them. What were they gonna do? You know, their wives were concerned because they didn't care about money. It was about helping people. But now, I remember years ago, I went to speak at Prayer Review A&M, and I was fighting this cause. They were trying to put a coal ash plant right near the college. And so they brought me in to fight this battle, and it was for free. But there was a leader whose name I'm not gonna mention. I think for 2 hours, he wanted like $50,000. And so they didn't get that. To fight the back because the person wanted some ridiculous amount of money. It might have just been for an hour. I don't know. But when they told me this, I said, man, that's ridiculous. But my point is unfortunately today, money is driving everything. And with our leaders and people running for office for the wrong reasons, they want them title, they want them some money. They don't want to work another type of job. And they want to be looked up to. They want somebody to admire them. And so that's why we got all these problems. Everybody's skeptical because it's just too much hypocrisy running around.
Okay. Come on in, Luke.
You sure you want me to talk? I think Gary said something. Gary said something about this thing is going to be recorded, and you got to be careful what you say. I'll go back to what CJ said in the beginning. This show is about telling the truth, and what I want to say to that is that it is a fact that we suffer from an abandonment of leaders. We're not living in the generation that I grew up under during the civil rights movement. All our leaders have been bought off by the system. And when you mention $50,000 to speak, I can get that down to 2 people that I'm sure if I call their names is probably one of them. because we've had the same situation in the leadership or the denied leadership of what's going on around the Black farmer issue. We had the opportunity to pass a debt relief for Black farmers. And the chair of the House Ag Committee allowed legislation to move across the hill. And I'm talking about now, I'm not talking about something that happened 2 or 3 months ago or a year ago. And the chair of the House Ag Committee did not assure that Black farmers were included in the legislation to get debt relief. And you wonder why we don't trust our leaders. At the same token, you have what they call gatekeepers. And those gatekeepers are denying the benefit of Black farmers, their families, and the wealth that has been taken from them because they stole the land. And what people don't understand is the billions of dollars that we've lost because of that stolen land, because you denied a generation after generation that wealth. This is serious. And we cannot be silent on the issues and allow people to go along to get along at the expense of our people and our young people and this generation. About government lying to people. We were on a conference call, Zoom call, a few months ago, where we asked a Black employee who works for Tom Vilsack whether or not there was a backlog of complaints of Black farmers. And we know there are a backlog of the thousands because some of them were on the phone, on the Zoom call. And this shows you how officials will lie to get a check. She told us that there was no backlog of complaints, and 3 of the farmers that were on the Zoom call had a backlog. That'll give you an example how people will lie. And by the way, the young lady was Black. So people will lie to get a check. People will lie and sacrifice a whole generation of people to get a check. People will lie when they're right at the step to help Black folks to get a foothold up in the wealth and help with the next generation. And it's a Black person standing at the door denying it.
Spook that's set by the door. They are. They're spooks that set by the door. Let's go up to Jacques. Come on, Jacques. We're running out of time. I want to get you back in here on this. Go ahead, Jacques.
I don't have much to add other than I think that Mr. Lucas's point was well made and well stated, and I concur with everything that he just said. So I will say that.
Okay, Gary.
Hey, do we have time to get to your favorite person? Everybody's favorite person?
Yeah, I want to get. We're gonna get to them. We want to get to CJ's favorite person.
Yeah.
We want to get to Stephen A. Smith. How about running that one?
Yeah, let's see what we can do here with Stephen A. All right, let's see.
Up here.
Listen to this.
In your case, you're defending Colin Kaepernick now. In my case, I've defended Colin Kaepernick on numerous occasions throughout the years. I'm talking about the Mike Wilbons, the James Browns, and everybody in between. Black folks all over the country, all in the media, everybody speaking up on behalf of Colin Kaepernick, but Colin Kaepernick. You the one person that don't have anything to say. You step aside while brothers and sisters who know that you were right to want to address police brutality, who know that you were right to want to address racial oppression, who know that you were right when you say that you didn't deserve to be blackballed and you didn't deserve to have your cause politicized. All of us are fighting on behalf of you, but you are the one that won't speak up for yourself. Do you have a problem with that?
Well, I think the thing is, in the Black community, like I said, I'm in the streets. I hear what's going on.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And the thing is I think Stephen A., you have a platform. It's okay to disagree, but it was the way you were going about it. It was almost like you were attacking him. And I think the thing with Colin Kaepernick and the way that things shifted right at the doorstep of this workout is just the transparency. You alluded to the document. As that related, I mean, as I was referring to it with the document, the waiver, again, like I said, when you insert language into something that's not standard, then obviously you have to take time to review those documents. And like I said, they weren't given adequate time to do that. And so to now insert that and then think that he was going to sign it right at the door front, then that's not fair. You giving him, if you're going to give him a fair workout, then give him a fair workout. He was allowed no media access. They were trying to dictate who his receivers were.
I have to stop you there. I have to stop you there. I am on the air right now listening to a Hall of Famer who I believe has had a multitude of opportunities to highlight unfairness that has been exacted from him. Did that stop you from accepting the challenge, knowing that you were walking into situations that were flagrantly unfair, that you were operating behind the 8 ball, at a disadvantage, courtesy of a system and an entity that obviously had a lot of power and influence to compromise whatever your aspirations were? You do it, I do it. There are people that sit up there. You ain't the only one that accused me of attacking him. I would ask you to recall what I said. What I said is that I have been supporting this man. What I didn't support was you sending, not you, meaning him, sending the message that everything has to be ideal and everything has to be fair in order for me to embrace the challenge to acquire what I have been behind the scenes through my camp telling everybody I want. If you don't want to work out, that's fine. If you think it's unfair and you want, and I know, Max, you want to get in, I'm going to bring you in. Yeah. And you don't think it's fair, that's fine. And you want to get your lawyer, and your lawyer wants to stand up there and say, this waiver is an issue. We're ready to work out, but not until they alter this waiver, etc. That's different. But to not do the workout, to change locations, and then to go and give a speech to the media without taking any questions, any inquiry as to what's really going on, you are leaving others to surmise what the hell happened.
Can I answer that real quick?
Fair.
Tio, do you mind if I jump in, Tio?
Yes, before you do that, but
go ahead.
I wanted is transparency, Stephen A. And that's like I've done it. I've had incidents throughout the course of my career, and then there have been times where I've gone into interviews where I've done an hour and a half, 2 hours of an interview, and then they break down and they edit, and then you guys get on the show, and there's a panel of people, and then they break down whatever clips that they show. They're not showing the entire hour and a half or 2 hours of that interview that I've done. So what he wanted was transparency for people to see the full workout, to see the full Colin Kaepernick. Again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. I'm just saying. I'm gonna check you right now. You done crossed the line.
I'm just saying.
Tell me. Wait a minute. You done crossed the line. First of all, like I said, you, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what's best for black people, name the time and place, I'll show up. I don't want to hear, what's the definition of blackness? Is there a definitive definition of blackness? Why are you giving the impression that because I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants? Okay, excuse me. Hold on.
I'm not agreeing. Wait a minute. I'm not agreeing with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I'm not saying that, but you said, you just sat up there and used an expression, more blacker. Excuse me. I'm from Hollis, Queens, New York City. You ain't the only brother out there that's in the streets. I'm in the streets every day.
I get it.
And so let's be very clear. And you damn well know that's the truth. And so my point.
Have y'all had enough of Stephen A. now?
I'm not going to disrespect you.
Yeah. Okay. We got to take a minute to deal with this fraud. Let's start down the bottom there. Michael, come on in. Just give us your minute on this guy and what you see.
You talking about Stephen or what kind of, well, Sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I don't. I get what he was trying to say, but he didn't articulate that very well. So the problem with Stephen A, I think, though, is he believes in his own opinion a little too much. That's my take.
Okay, Trey, come on in, Trey.
All right, cool. So it's funny you brought that clip up because me and CJ have had many of debates about the clip. And pertaining to that specific clip, I actually agree with Stephen A. Smith 100%. Like, you know, and like the gentleman said before me, there's times where I agree with him and there's times where I don't agree with him. But as far as Stephen A. Smith goes, man, like, you know, First Take has been an unwatchable entity for some time now. And like, unless there is something crazy going on where he can give off these type of takes like that and garner this type of attention, then First Take is unwatchable. Skip and Shannon do, you know, Stephen A. and Skip better than First Take does now. You know, I'm not sure where ESPN is headed. They paid Stephen A. the money, and unless he's gonna be on every show, you know, just yelling and screaming, I'm not sure what the Four Letters are gonna do. You know, these type of shows like we're doing right now, podcasts, live YouTube shows and stuff like that, that's the new media. That's the stuff that people are looking for. Like, I'd rather go on and like there's a young guy me and CJ watch on YouTube. His name Chiseled Adonis. He does like parody voiceovers and commentary of live football games and live basketball games and things of that sort. Like, I'd rather watch that than watch ESPN. So like, you know, new media is going to be taken over. I'm not sure, you know, they still got the money. It's not like ESPN is just going to fall, you know, just going to falter out of nowhere. Like, they're going to last for some time. They're going to have to change some things up. But as far as Stephen A. Smith goes, he's if hit or miss was a person, it would be Stephen A. Smith. That's my take.
Dr. Owens, come on in, Doc.
All right, that's me, right?
Yeah, come on in. Owens.
All right, so I started laughing when Trey said it's unwatchable because my thing is, me personally, I don't really like debate television, like the big trend where they have two hosts and one moderator in the middle. I mean, everybody tried to bastardize the concept that they did with First Take, but I don't like debate television because I've seen what they do when they run out of stuff to talk about. Like, in the middle of the off season, the NBA off season, why are y'all talking about LeBron? LeBron did not break a record right now. The season's over. Why y'all talking about LeBron? And when they don't want to talk about that, they talk about the Cowboys all the time. Like, I don't understand why I keep talking about the same thing all the time. Like, y'all don't have anything else to talk about. So me personally, I don't really like debate television, but I am happy that Max did get 60 M's out of it. So, you know, hey, it is what it is.
Okay. John Hollins. Then come up to Lawrence Lucas. John Hollins.
Well, I'll say this. Stephen A. Smith is an entertainer as well as a commentator. And so, you know, working in television, I know that they give them scripts and information and dialogue that they want them to speak on. Sometimes they even ask them to be the adversary on this subject. And so you got to understand that when they sit there on as my man said, the Four Letters, you know, they're getting paid to do a job, and that job is to create controversy. And sometimes they're put in the middle of not necessarily their true beliefs, but they've been bought and paid for. And so you have to listen carefully. You notice that Stephen A. tries to defend himself on every angle, but yet, if you look at most of his commentary, he's always negative towards players that look like us. And that's why he makes $12 million a year. He's getting paid to make sure that somebody that looks like us is an adversary to what we're talking about. And you have to have your own mind and understanding of what's going on. I don't know who Stephen A. Smith is personally, so I don't know his true personal beliefs, but I can tell that he gets offended when he gets called out. And so you have to take that with a grain of salt and understand that, you know, from an entertainment standpoint, paid to say certain things, but who is he really? I don't know.
All right, Luke, we got a minute, Luke. We got to close it out. Come on, Luke.
I'm not going to take a minute. I think the individual that said, no gatekeepers of the truth. I think that's the problem that we have amongst our Black leaders, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Let's go to my main man, my co-host, CJ. Come on in.
Burn them down, CJ. Burn them down.
No, it's not even that. I think it was already spoken on succinctly that he is in the position that he's in because if you look consistently, no matter how he tries to defend himself from these attacks, I'm not saying Stephen A is a total hack, but at the same time, it's consistent that his positions are usually almost always negative towards players, as he said, towards Black players. They usually always side with ownership, with power, with whoever's in charge, and it's no coincidence that he's the one who got the big contract at ESPN because of that. But the issue goes deeper than that. This actually connects to everything we've talked about today because it is the ESPN-ification of our politics that has rotted everything. The same way we're talking about First Take and how they invent arguments and how these guys are performers and they don't believe in all the arguments they take. That's what has happened to CNN. It's not just ESPN, it's network TV in general. CNN and the politicians, that's exactly how politics works now. It's a team sport, Democrat versus Republican, and they try to divide you on team. Doesn't matter what your team's on. If your team's on and it's right, and it leads to a bunch of hypocrisy, it leads to a bunch of actors people who are passed off as news anchors and people are supposed to give information, but they're really just entertainers and actors. Like you said, they're there to drum up ratings and controversy more than inform the public. So I think it's all connected in terms of what Trey was saying, the transformation of media and how Stephen A. Smith's show and a lot of the shows on ESPN, they're plummeting in ratings. Meanwhile, new media is exploding. Like outlets like The Ringer, like you talk about, these podcasts are getting big time numbers. Meanwhile, they can't understand network TV why they're losing their viewership because people are tired and they are starting to see through that fakeness of you don't really believe that, or isn't it suspicious that Stephen A is always anti-player in every one of his takes? That seems to be a weird coincidence, or things like that. So people are seeing through it, and it's not as entertaining. You know, people rather see something real in a show like this rather than something as was stated that is scripted, that has producers that, oh, Mr. Bell, pretend you care about this so we can argue about this. That's what these shows are, and that's why they're losing this generation.
Okay, Jacques, you got a minute, Jacques.
I'm going to pass the time, and I'm outside. I'm being bit by mosquitoes, so I'm going to pass my time.
Okay.
Hey, Harold.
Yeah.
Let me kind of touch on what CJ talked about because he's so true. A lot of people don't know that Fox News is a business entertainment system. They are not a news channel. A lot of people don't know that. News channels are held to journalism laws, and Fox News is not. They can say whatever they want to say, and that's why many of their reporters have either been fired or called out because they pretend to be a news station. And I'm not siding with one because at times CNN almost finds themselves being very similar to Fox on one side or the other, but Fox News is not a news channel. They have not signed on professionally as a news channel. They are an entertainment channel, and a lot of people don't know that.
Okay. Before I let Gary come in and close out, I just want to say this, guys. ESPN, that format was the original Inside Sports. I was talking politics and sports, man, 1972. I was the first brother ever co-host or host this show that talked about politics and sports. Inside Sports, man. ESPN stole my format. I changed the way they report and talk sports around the globe. I was the first one to ever do media roundtables. I wrote my own commentaries. I played message music by Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? Respect Yourself. Washington Post stole my tag that my wife gave me at a dinner table for Inside Sports. And I got their reporters on my show weekly. But you know what they did? They took Inside Sports, took it up to New York and started Inside Sports magazine, published it. But you know what? It had to fold in 2 years. They lost millions of dollars because they could not figure out how to put my success for talk show into print. And they ran them out of New York, man. So when you see a guy like Stephen A. Smith, he's a fraud. I'm come out of Winston-Salem where he went. I was playing football and basketball. I played, not sit on the bench. Stephen Stephen A. Smith averaged 1.3 in basketball because he didn't get off the bench. And he'll talk about big house games and how he loved big house games and he blew his knee out. And that's why he never got a chance to play. That's a lie. Coach said he couldn't play dead. He put him on the team because he was from New York and thought he could play. Stephen A. Smith went on NBC on the David Letterman show and told David Letterman how he had written a column on Big House Games, how he should have been fired because coach started losing games because all the black players that he was getting one time, they started going to the white colleges. You guys have never heard of Cleo Hill, one of the baddest brothers before Michael Jordan. All over North Carolina, when we played our games in Winston-Salem, white folks came from all over the state. We couldn't even get in our own gym. So when you start talking about this guy, he went on David Letterman and told all these lies, and NBC found out and they deleted the show from their archives. You can try to Google Stephen A. Smith on David Letterman. You can't find it. We wouldn't allow him to come back down to the college, man. Earl Monroe, all of it, barred him from Winston-Salem. So he's on here telling about, you guys, I don't know if you heard Terrell Owens say, man, you ain't from those streets, man. You don't know nothing about no streets. He was telling the truth. And then he brings up about Michael Wilbon and James Brown, who came through me, don't know nothing about 14th and U, don't know nothing about Simple City. You know what I'm saying? So, but these are the kind of guys that they put on national television to carry their message. They don't want you to know about me, I was the chosen one with Muhammad Ali. Y'all ain't never heard of Harold Belly and Muhammad Ali. I was the chosen one. So we just got to stop and think, man, about who is delivering the message to us. And all you got to do is Google them. All you got to do is Google them, man. So I found that Terrell Owens piece when he called Stephen out and said, man, you ain't from those streets. And he wasn't. He don't know nothing about those streets. But the brother is in a position, he's making $12 million a year, $10 million, whatever. You know, that's more power to him. I'm dead broke, but you know what I got? I got peace of mind. Peace of mind is not for sale, my brothers. And anybody is asking about Harold Bell, just say, let's get Harold on the phone and see which direction they go in. So I'm just saying, man, you young people, you guys gotta take the reign, man. I done did it. I'm 83. I'm on the way out, not on the way in. so it's up to you guys, man, to take over. Orange and Trey and CJ, man, you got to do it, man. That's why we got to have shows like this. You guys are welcome to come back anytime. Anytime. I was going to tell Gary and CJ to start off our show just with the three of us, and then anybody can join in. We don't need no panel of guests. Jock is always with us. Michael is always with us. Luke is always with us. And John Hollis, whenever I need him, is here. So we got a foundation, a platform, man, where we can start getting the message out. So, Gary.
Let me tell you, Trey and Deontay, man, you all have made it entertaining. I've heard the line of the day and I agree with it because I've been in Club Shay Shay with Shannon. And so that show with Stephen A. has been unwatchable for years. And so you guys have been very entertaining. I love your perspectives. Like Mr. Bell said, you all have an open invitation to bring your takes in here all the time. I really, really like it. CJ, you got the final word, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Speak the Truth. Like I said, thanks to everybody that came out. Looks like Trey, you got something else to say?
Yeah, my bad. I don't mean to take your last word, but Mr. Bell, you 83. I pray to God that I am as cohesive and look as good.
Man, that's what I was saying. Hey, Trey, as soon as you said, I was like, oh, really? That's what I was looking for. Yes. Melanin wins again. Melanin wins again.
Hey, like they say, get on your Google machine and look him up. You'll see.
Hey, Gary, we want to go out here. You know, it's been a really rough year for a lot of us, man. We done lost a whole lot of people. We probably won't realize how many people that we've lost, man, until this thing is, I don't know when it's ever going to be over with, man. But I had several funerals this week, man, that I had to go back to back. And I lost some people, man, that really are responsible, man, for me being in the position I am. And Gary's just going to run a little collage here. And I'm just going to talk about a few of them, man. We lost Dr. Gil Hoffman, a dear friend of mine that put me up, man, when I had no place to stay. I grew up, I had friends, man, like Ed Wells, who was my mentor, and Spengon, his older brother, Dickie, we played football together, and we used to go over to their house on Oklahoma Avenue, where Ed's mother would fix sandwiches and lemonade and stuff for us after practice. Lost Ed Wells, man, one of my biggest supporters. George Knox, the great football player, never got his chance because he blew out his knee with the Washington Redskins when Larry Brown was there, okay? Larry Brown would have never been heard of if George Knox had stayed healthy. And y'all know the kind of running back that Larry Brown was. George was always with me in the community, my fashion shows, tennis tournaments, everything, man. George Knox was always there. He died of COVID. And then we just lost Juanita Harris, one of our contributors here on Speak the Truth. Juanita lost her mother, Juanita C. Harris, a couple of weeks ago. Then we had Elaine Parker, great family out there in Prince George's County. I think about Michael, Larry, Ronnie, and Georgette, Chi Fortune. Michael just lost, Larry just lost his son Keith this past week, right after the grandma had passed. Grandson passed several weeks later, so it's been a tough time. They are what you call the dynasty in PG County, the Parkers. And then there's, of course, we lost NFL player Spain Musgrove, who played with Houston and the Washington Redskins for several years. He died this past week. And then I lost my co-captain right there, Irvin Brown, number 27. Irvin was the co-captain of Spengon football team and basketball team. We were teammates. And this is a guy, such a class act, man. There were a bunch of knuckleheads, and I was one of them. I could be found shooting crap in the bathroom, playing cards, and Irvin would come in. He'd stand around for a few minutes. He'd say, okay, I see you guys at practice. He would hang out with the knuckleheads, but he never became one. Irvin went on to become a lieutenant with the Park Police here in the area. And Irvin just passed, man. Really one of the nicest people that you ever want to meet, man, and could play. Ain't take no stuff, man, on that football field or basketball court, man. So Irvin Brown, they have finalized the arrangements. The service will be on Tuesday, October 5th at St. Margaret's Scotland Catholic Church, which is located at 408 Addison Road South in Capitol Heights, Maryland. The visitation will be from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. The service will follow at 11 and last until noon. The burial will be at Resurrection Cemetery in Clinton, Maryland. Due to COVID, we have elected not to have a repast, but they're going to stream it. Irvin's obituary will be in today's Washington Post and in Monday's Washington Post, man. Thanks so much, you guys. Love you, man. Hope you come back.
All right, everybody. Hey, stay safe, and we'll see you all next week on Speak the Truth. We're out. Look at Orange.
Look at him. Look at him. All right now, man.
Woo.
Hi, I'm Harold Bell. My wife Hattie and I founded a nonprofit organization in 1968, shortly after the riots that almost destroyed my hometown, Washington, D.C. The program caters to the needs of at-risk children as it relates to social services such as education, law enforcement, drug abuse, gang-related violence, and other antisocial behavior.